So we're going to finish the 11-2 area of trapezoids, rhombi, and kite. We're going to do the rhombi and kite section. So if you want to flip your packet to the next page, when it says area of rhombi and kite, on your formula sheet, on the back where it says rhombi and kite, you will see that your formula is 1/2 D1 times D2. D1 stands for diagonal 1, D2 stands for diagonal 2. Make sure you write that in on your orange sheet. So it doesn't matter which one's D1 or D2, and you can see here this is a rhombi, this is a kite. As long as you talk about the entire diagonal, the other entire diagonal. So if you're given two numbers, you'll see we're going to add those two up. And then you want to make sure that you take half of that. So let's look at our first example. I know it's a little hard to see which ones are numbered. So our first diagonal is here. We have 56 plus 26. 56 plus 26 equals 82. Our second diagonal is 20. It's a kite, so it's both going to be the same. It's 20 and 20. 20 and 20 is 40. So I like to identify them there. So my area equals 1/2 my first diagonal of 82, my second diagonal of 40. And again, you could take half of one of them. You can multiply these two together and then divide by 2, whatever you prefer. I'm going to show you multiplying the two big numbers together and then taking half. So we get 3,280. When I divide that in half, I get 1,640 units, which is inches squared. So again, you could have done it a different way and still got the same answer. You could take half of 82, and then, which is 41. 41 times 40 is still going to give you 1,640. So let's try another. So this one here only gives me two numbers, but it tells me that these two are congruent. So I have this side, which is going to be 40, this diagonal. This diagonal, which will be 20. My formula, area equals 1/2 40 times 20. 40 times 20 is 800. 1/2 of 800 is 400. Let's do another one. My first diagonal is 24 and 24, which is 48. My second diagonal is 18 and 10, which is 28. Area equals 1/2 48 times 28. And it doesn't matter which one I do first because you're multiplying. I'm going to multiply my two big numbers together. I get 1,344. Divide that in half. 672 feet squared. So I'd like you to stop the video now and try the next 3 on your own. I'm going to keep going. So when you start it up again, you can check your answers with mine. You'll notice this one is a square, which if you remember from chapter 6, squares are also rhombi. So my 2 diagonals are going to be the same, 26 and 26. Sorry, let me skip that for you. This one, if it doesn't tell you, it's going to be 8 and 8, or 16. And the last one, they give it to you already added together. This whole thing is 18. This whole thing here is 12. So we don't have to do any adding, just the multiplication. Oops, 216, I wrote 26, 216. Make sure you check your answers. All right, last page of this packet is similar to what we've done, where I give you the area and we're finding the missing information. So the first one is a trapezoid. If you remember my formula, area equals 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. My bases are 12.8 and 20. My height we do not know. So my area of 164 equals 1/2 the x that we don't know, 12.8 plus 20. So there's a couple ways I could do this. First I'm going to add 12.8 and 20. So I'm going to add 12.8 and 20. I get 32.8. I could take half of that number and then divide both sides. I could also multiply both sides by 2. So it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you taking half of 32.8. It's 16.4. So I'm going to take half of this number. And then divide both sides by 16.4. And I will get 10 is my x. Okay. The next one is a rhombi. So I have my two diagonals. So if you remember, this formula is 1/2 diagonal 1, diagonal 2. They tell me my area is 340. My first diagonal, this is x, but the whole thing's not x. So if I have x and x, it's going to be 2x, and my other diagonal is 20. So again, I could take half of 2x, which is just x, or half of 20, which is 10. So I'm going to take half of 2x. So half of 2x is just x times 20. If you want to rewrite it a little more like we're used to, it's 20x. Divide both sides by 20. And 17 is my x. Okay, so for the last one, it's a little different. Instead of having 2x, the entire side is x. This whole diagonal is x. And this whole diagonal is 22.5. So again, area equals 1/2 d1 times d2. They tell me my area is 247.5. My one diagonal is x. My other diagonal is 22.5. Sorry, I ran out of a little room there. I'm going to take half of 22.5. Half of 22.5 is 11.25. Divide both sides by 11.25. And I get 22 equals x. And the good thing about these problems is you could check them. You could plug your x back in. 1/2 times 10 is 5. We already know my bases are 32.8. 5 times 32.8 is going to give me 164. The next one, 1/2. 2 times 17 is 34. So half of 34 is 17. Times 20 is 340. And then over here, 1/2 of 22 is 11. 11 times 22.5 is 247.5. So you can plug it back in. Also on the bottom here, I give you a review of everything we've done so far. So these two parts were from 11.1. These two were from 11-2. So if you need a little refresher, the formulas are all down here.